All of us here at St. John's hope that you and your friends and family had a chance to kind of stay cozy last weekend and recharge. We had a surprisingly robust crowd here, both at the 8 o'clock service and at 10:30, but we certainly understood that a lot of people opted to tune in via cable or YouTube channel because of the inclement conditions and the weather. And because of that, the annual meeting, which is a pretty succinct affair here at St. John's, has been pushed back another week. So this coming Sunday, we will have annual meeting at both the 8 o'clock chapel service and 10:30 service in the church. This is a very modest affair, but it is something that we have to do to gather together, to affirm the new oncoming chapter members, and to hear a little bit about the business dealings of St. John's and the financial position that we are in, which continues to be incredibly strong thanks to all of our congregation's immense generosity. So weaving around that little bit of annual meeting at the center of the service, we, of course, will still be continuing on this Epiphany journey. And all through the season of Epiphany, it begins with the wise men following the star, and that idea of starlight, of brightness in the dark time of the year is a theme that continues all through the season in these weeks after the Epiphany. And in fact, in that opening collect, the opening prayer that begins the service, we will hear this plea to God to illumine us with the word and sacraments so that we may shine forth in the world around us. So very much speaking to that idea of the light of Christ in the world around us that we experience in the word and the sacraments. The gospel reading is one of the season's most celebratory. It's the wedding at Cana. It's Jesus' first miracle, where at the wedding they run out of wine, and Jesus' mother, in true Jewish mother kind of fashion, kind of eggs him on to do something about the situation. And of course, Jesus tells the wine stewards to fill the large jars full of water, and when they do so, they find that the water has miraculously become wine, and not only some kind of wine, but the best wine of the party. And this idea that saving the best for last, that Jesus, after all the years of prophecy, that God has saved the best wine for the end of the party. And that is a way that we sort of see the presence of Christ, the love of Christ, the mercy and grace that we experience through Christ. So as you listen to the prayers and sing the hymns and listen to the anthems, be aware of both of those symbols all through the service. We will be hearing and speaking about the light of Christ, as well as this wedding banquet, this time of being together, where we can really enjoy God's presence among us. So at the sequence hymn, particularly if you pay attention to the second and third verses, we'll be singing, "Blessed Jesus, at thy word we are gathered here to hear you." And it harkens back to that opening prayer about illumine us through the word and sacraments. But in the second and third verses, it talks about the light of Christ dispelling our darkness. We'll begin with "Christ whose glory fills the skies," another light-filled hymn. And then at the communion, we will be singing "All Praise to You, O Lord," which is a hymn tune that's very familiar to us because we sing this every time we have a baptism. We sing this tune every time we have a baptism here at St. John's. So of course we sing that to a baptism text when we have baptisms in our service. But this is a very interesting hymn. "All praise to you, O Lord, who by your mighty power did manifest your glory forth in Cana's marriage hour." And it sort of retells the gospel, but in a very theologically contextualized way. So particularly you want to pay attention to that. Both of the anthems will focus more on that wedding banquet, that idea of being in a celebration with the Lord. And the communion anthem, which will directly precede that hymn, is this wonderful text from the Song of Solomon. "I sat down under his shadow, and he brought me into the banqueting house," with this really evocative, lovely, haunting melody. So look for those dual themes of light and of wedding celebration feast as we come together. And we hope that you will join us for our annual meeting, but even as much or more so for the wedding feast of every Eucharist that we celebrate together here at St. John's.